And there's a part of my brain that is kicking in going, I have a shit ton to get done today. I really have a list a mile long of things that need to be created or done or built or repurposed or restructured, especially with everything that we're moving into for May and what's happening. And there's another part of my brain that's like, it will all get done as it needs to get. And shouldn't say my brain. There's a part of my brain is telling me, it has got me in the shoulding space of I should be doing this. I got to do this. There's a lot of, I can feel my adrenalized root kind of kicking in and going, this shit's got to get done. I'm very clear about what needs to be moved. And I think about, what we're creating over the next 3 months, essentially to get into this 10th year anniversary, to do some of the rebranding, the elevation, the leveling up, and the, bringing that curation of content together. I'm like, okay, there's a lot going on. And I mean, I spent all that time building out the monthly calendar for next month, and we'll get into that. And I'm so excited about that.
That's amazing.
My brain is like tick, 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 right? I got this checklist, this mental checklist that is getting bigger by the minute. And I'm like, I need this, I need this, I need this. I got to block and tackle, like you and I need to divide and conquer. And then there's a part of my body that's like, yes, and I can really deeply, and it's something that I'm learning to honor in all of this, is that space of yes, and allow yourself the gentleness that literally this idea that yesterday and today are 180 degrees different in energy, to the point where, I woke up fired up, so much clarity around moving forward, slept really great. And then today coming into it going, what the hell just came through and hit me? I mean, this like freight train just knocked me out, and like everything in my body feels a bit discombobulated and out of sorts. And I'm like, okay, then lean into what do you need today, not what do I need to get done kind of space. And my mom's dog is going crazy in the background. It's his birthday today. He's 11.
Oh, is it? Oh,
happy birthday, Ammo, right?
oh, happy birthday, Emma.
Yeah. And so it's the space of allowing the kind of re-regulation of my system to be okay with, I'm going to get done what I can get done today. I'm going to lean in, and who knows, once I get the momentum moving, I might feel more motivated.
Spark, and then it's really
Right,
good.
because we don't wait for motivation. Momentum creates motivation, not the other way around. It's that space of, if you're waiting for motivation, you're gonna wait for a really long time. Now, there's not to say that sometimes that doesn't kick in, but it's not about, oh, I'm just gonna wait till I'm motivated to do these things, because I guarantee if I do that, I'm gonna be in bed with a blanket and Netflix today. And that may be what I need. And part of my brain is going, that's not. And I'm like, okay, stop. Everything will get done in its due time. Everything. And I also know that if this is the energy that's presenting today, I'd allow myself that space, open to grace, be gentle with myself. That means if today's a low energy, I just need to kind of, the other thing I got to recognize is last night when I was doing some of my reorganization and my cleaning, I came across some of Peyton's stuff that just kind of took me out for a minute. And so I went to bed with that on my heart. And I can feel the weight of that today. It's interesting. I did a post yesterday that, one of the things I've learned inside of the whole, navigating grief is the grief itself doesn't go away. Like the intensity of the grief, I don't think it changes. It hasn't changed how much it can just take me out, how much it can get in my body, how much it feels like it happened just a minute ago. But what changes is a space in between, right? And so I wasn't expecting it, because I came across some of his old bandanas and his Thunder shirt, and I forgot they were up in my cabinet. And so I get that there's that energy too. And I've been feeling some of his energy again that I've had even the last couple of this weekend. I'm like, God, I feel like I want to cry. So that being said, it's probably a space to lean in and ask myself what I need. So I might get a lot of stuff done and cry my way through it. Or I may end up at some point going, you know what, it's a day where I'm just going to rest, because I know that if I honor that, when I honor that when the energy is in the space where I can think clearly and I can move mountains, and what feels like a week's worth of work can get done in 3 hours. I know that, and that's something that I've got to, especially being a manifesting generator and being the way I move. So I think there's the and space to consider. What feels aligned? I think that's the question, right? What feels aligned for what my energy needs today, and needs from a wealth, self-care, honoring and alignment for me, not needs because I need to do this. There's two different kinds of need energy, right? One is a very embodied, deep knowing. The other is the shoulding and the shame and the shit that we put all over ourselves, right? So one's expansive and one's contractive. And so asking, and I think even for you, Brandi, as we were talking about that, knowing that, because you're a Manny Gen too, right? And I mean, we know how that works, that there's times where we're like, holy shit, I got a lot going on. And we also know that if we force that, how, first of all, and I'm just going to put this out there, both of us being 6'2" Manny Gens, you know what's going to happen. If we do the things that aren't aligned, we're going to have to go back and redo those things anyway, because that's where we make we make even more mistakes than we normally do. We move past things. We're not focused. We're scattered. So I just say that because perhaps you and I need to feel into individually what today is requiring. And no, because I'm a big fan of, and I've been doing this more, where sometimes I feel like during the middle of the week, I need a day like this. And then Saturday and Sunday are my like, holy shit, I'm on fire because I know I don't have disruptions. I just feel like there's an honoring of really asking, what does our energy need individually and collectively before we jump into like everything we got to do. Yes, there's a list a mile long, and it doesn't all have to be done today or tomorrow. And if it's interesting that you and I are both feeling very similar energy today, and it's like such a 180-degree shift from yesterday. I'm starting to learn more and more that doesn't happen by accident, and that's not something to just shove down, punch in the face, or dismiss, right?
Right. The beauty is just in letting it be and not trying to force anything. I think you and I have both at times forced a lot of things in our careers and in our days and our, we're always trying to make things happen. And I think there is some beauty in just letting it be. So.
Well, what's interesting is one of the things we're going to talk about is some things I want to queue up around mental health awareness, which we're moving into for May. And so this conversation is timely, right? I think about there's so many layers and levels of mental health. And one of the things even I had asked this weekend, because there's a lot more to share around growing up and being around that energy. I have a lot of mental health stuff in my family, and it really affected my childhood. It really affected just who I am today, for sure. And like my mom and I even had a conversation this weekend around, is it okay? And I know there's an interesting dynamic in this, and it's funny because sometimes I think there's a codependency in the question, and then there's a clarity and a cleanness in the question. And the way that I approached it, there was a cleanness, because here's the thing, I really do want to reiterate for so many people that you don't need anyone's permission to do or say anything. You just don't. If it's your truth, you can share your story, you can share your at any time. Now, that being said, oftentimes not oftentimes, all the time, our story is intertwined with someone else's. It is the human experience, right? Our stories don't happen in isolation. And so I feel that there's times, especially when it's a story that has a lot of energy to it, because again, our stories are only our perspective. It's our version of the truth. It's our way of it based on our design, our energetic blueprint, how we view the world, things that two people can have the same experience and have very different experiences. And so I feel like when it's that kind of a amplified, charged, energetic space, I like to, especially if it impacts someone else, which a lot of times is, just to have that conversation around, are you okay with me telling my version of the story? And so it was interesting because my mom and I talked about it, because as I start looking at, May is mental health awareness month, and we've got, especially with everything that's happened in light of the pandemic and what's been going on, mental health, really, we need to have a lot of conversations. And there's not one flavor of it, right? Mental health shows up in a lot of different ways. And so it was interesting because my mom and I were talking about it. She said, there's part of me that wants to run for the hills and be like, absolutely not. And there's another part of me that realizes the only way we change the stigma and the only way we take the shame out of all that's attached to mental health. I mean, there's still so much shame in it, right? I mean, I know there's more and more people coming forward. I know there's celebrities that are talking about it, which means there's a little bit more of an opening that people want to be in that conversation. And I look at it, it's in some ways, it's no different than talking about menopause and women's health issues, right? And I think about, especially in light of what we've talked about, menopause and women's health issues, a lot of mental health is affected in that process as well. And so, I mean, our hormones have a lot to do with our mental health, our gut, our nervous system, are we regulated in what our body needs? Or there's a lot about that, right? And so she and I talked about it, and even with my sister, to say, I feel like it's time to talk about some of those things more. And so it's interesting that you and I are finding ourselves right here. And even now, it's like, it doesn't have to be the diagnosed disorders when we talk about mental health. It's about our everyday mental health and well-being. And are we taking the care and the time to respond, not react, to respond in a way that meets us where we're at? Because again, it's letting go of this, I should be hustling and grinding 24/7. And it's Tuesday, therefore I should be working. Whoever made up Monday through Friday as work days is ridiculous. And so think about this idea that we are so programmed that we are supposed to be able to show up and bring our full self to the table Monday through Friday, when our body is like, I don't give a shit what day of the week it is. You need to do some self-care. You need to like have a cathartic cleanse. You need to cry, which cathartic cleansing is a beautiful thing that we need to give ourselves more permission for. Because I don't care who you are, you have some open centers in your chart, which means you're amplifying other people's crap and energy. And at some point you need to release that. You need to like be able to find a way to discharge all of that buildup that's going on around you, all of that pressure, all of that shooting, all of that emotion, whatever it is. And so my body, and so it's something really interesting to be said, that who cares? It's Tuesday. Like my body, my being is like, and great, then you can work on Saturday. Because to me, a day is a day is a day. And I don't really have, your idea of time and space is unrealistic and not real anyway. But think about that. We give ourselves so much pressure to show up because, well, Monday through Friday is, and I think about like the corporate environment, it's the worst, right? I love that there's more and more companies giving people the option for a mental health day. Everybody should have a mental health day at least once a month, if not truthfully once a week.
Absolutely. Yeah. But it is so interesting when you talk about timelines, because we even were talking about this at the very beginning of the year, January 1st. And the fact that it's just like, okay, new year, new you, you're just supposed to spring into action and get all your goals completed. It's the exact same thing. It's very interesting on how we have these timelines, or a new year, or it's a new week, or like it's a Tuesday. And so we're supposed to then be on.
Yep.
And it's wrecking all of us.
Yep.
Because we're forcing and we're pushing and we're grinding and we're hustling, and we know that nothing good is coming from it.
Yes.
So giving ourselves the space and grace is everything. And we have to give it to ourselves, because the world is not, like you said, we're not programmed, we're not set up that way to operate that way. So to the best of our ability, we've got to step into our power, or take some of our power back, and give ourselves some divine self-care, because no one else is going to do it.
No, and I mean,
Not
think
even
about
really-
that for a minute, right? Because here's the thing, because I mean, I even think about some of the work that I do in the intimate containers, or even we talk about boundaries a lot, right? Because boundaries plays into, I got to be able to ask for what I need. And the reason why people get so upset or butthurt when you are saying, I need a mental health, is because they know that they're taking advantage of you on some level, of the fact that you're so accessible. We have got to create the space where we are accessible to everyone 24/7. And this idea that, to your point, the timeline of, well, I got to just do it. These timelines are ridiculous. Now, it's not to say, and there's a big difference between procrastinating and not stepping into a space that's calling through you. I want to be really clear about that, because there is a big difference between you are getting a download and you are feeling called to step into something that scares the shit out of you and feels uncomfortable. There is a level of, we procrastinate. That's a very different energy, because if you feel into your body that feels contracted, you feel scared, you're pulling back, versus oh, there's a lot of big things calling through me and I need to recharge and replenish. Because even talking about this right now, I can already see that my day is going to unfold very differently than what I have mapped out on my calendar, because I can feel the fact that it's going to be more of a flowy day, which means I may go into the other room, sit on my couch, put on a movie or something in the background and because that's what happened even this weekend. I had a blog post came through as I was watching a ball game, right? So I feel like there's this gentleness instead of pushing, and to allow ourselves, to your point, the space and grace, because when we don't, and here's the thing, leadership is a choice, right? I talk about, that's my whole, everything I talk about is leadership's a choice. And leadership cannot happen until you lead yourself first. And the part of leading, part of showing up, when we talk about leadership, is a choice, a function of how you choose to show up, a function of how you choose to serve, and a function of how you take personal responsibility inside those two spaces. Sometimes showing up means showing up for you. And let me rephrase that. Showing up means showing up for you first, always. I need to rephrase that, because even that feels like, oh, well, maybe some days I have to. No, showing up, leading means showing up for yourself first. And showing up and being really honest around, do I need to pull back a little bit and allow myself to just be today? Or am I procrastinating and I'm making an excuse? And there's two different energies. And when you take responsibility inside that space, you will know. You will know. First of all, if you got to keep asking yourself, you're like, oh yeah, I already know. I know, you know, right? But it's that space of recognizing, how am I think the question we need to ask ourselves every morning is, when we feel in, how do I need to lead myself first? What do I need in order to show up and serve today? And sometimes that's, I need to show up for me and I need to bring it back and I need to let it be more ease, because today my energy is not matching the holy shit, I'm going to get 27 things done at once. And then 20, because there's days that I'm like that. I mean, this weekend, last week, I mean, you've seen some of the results of what I did. I was dialed in and I'm like, holy crap, I just got, a week's worth of work done in a handful of hours, because it was dialed in and I couldn't help myself. Like, I had so much energy to burn that not only did I have to do that, I had to like work out extra hard. Because I had all this energy. Like, okay, today I'm like, I don't know where that energy went, but it feels like it vacated my entire aura. Like, I have no idea where that energy went, right? Because even in this conversation right now, a lot of times that gives me that, and I'm feeling a little burst, but I have to say there's another part of me. It's like, I want a nap after this conversation.
Right.
Like, I want a nap.
Right. Yeah. It's still just a little bit of a subdued energy today.
It is very much. And so imagine if, Brandi, what would that look like if we honor that today? Like, I think that's something, and this is just a real conversation where we've got some agenda items we need to get through. We're just having our regular, Tuesday morning call.
Yep.
And this conversation matters, right? I think this is the beauty of what we do and why we record all these, right? Because this is the conversation that sometimes we're like, before we jump into our agenda,
it's really important.
We take a breath. Can we just
where are we at?
Life today is like low. It's just, and the fact that both of us came into this call going, I don't know what just happened, like day and night from yesterday. That's not to be said that we can't honor that, right? So
Right.
Anyway, what would that look like today if we honored that?
Mhm.
What would that look like if we just allowed ourselves to be
Exactly.
and know, and there's the trust, right? Know that whatever is piling up on our plate, first of all, one of two things, it will get done. It always does.
Absolutely.
And it may give us permission to drop some things off that just aren't important because it's not something we need to be on. We put it on the list because we thought we had to, and it really doesn't need to be there anyway.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, for me, I mean, that just feels like, oh,
Doesn't it?
some relief. It just feels like, oh, to create some space. That's really nice. Like, oh, space. There you are, old friend. Like,
Right. I love that space.
Mhm.
There you are, old friend. I just feel the energy. God, it feels so good. I really, truly, I can feel it. My eyes are welling up right now. There's a cathartic
Yeah.
cleansing today. I'm already, I can feel it. It's starting to come on. Because just that, what we just did, that high space. Hi, friend. I mean, just,
Be.
I can,
Having that
the waterworks are coming. Today is it just, God, the energy just feels dense today. It just feels sluggish. It just feels like I want to just, and you know what? When the cathartic energy comes, it doesn't say, wait, because the more we hold it, this is the thing, when we don't honor it, it just gets stored in your body and it starts ricocheting around. And then you start like getting punchy with other people and like you're charged.
Right.
Okay, so it's a discharge day. I can feel it. I just want to cry today. I'm gonna cry today.
Yeah.
I'm already crying.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that we're all feeling that intensity build, and at some point, like you're saying, that energy goes somewhere, and we've got to then release it. We got to take the pressure valve off of it so that it can kind of dissipate instead of just like storing in our tissues and our being, and then that's creating God knows what, maybe then next week we've got some kind of physical ailment because that energy is building and building. It goes somewhere.
Well, yeah.
So it's like we've got to just take the pressure off, let it release.
Well, and most of our physical ailments, that's exactly what they are.
Yeah.
They're a buildup of emotion and stress and bullshit and shame that gets stored in our body and doesn't know where to go. And it has to go somewhere. And so what happens is it creates pain, it creates inflammation, it creates, because it builds up and it swells and your body can only contain so much. And so yes, most of our physical ailments show up that way. And so yeah, I just think it's just a day to say space and grace. Welcome space and welcome the breath, and like just taking that breath with you right now feels so, because it didn't elevate my energy. And like I said, there's times we can have this conversation and we can just discharge, because sometimes it's just, there was just a funk we woke up with. There's an energy. Okay, we discharge it, ready to go. And I'm feeling like this discharge is actually releasing the valve slowly, that it doesn't want to just go blah. Yes. It wants to just like be a slow leak through the day. Yeah. And just be gentle. It wants to be a gentle release. It doesn't want to be a full on, I'm going to pound it out on the bike or in the gym or whatever. I'm going to just.
Yeah, it's like it really needs to take some time today.
Yeah, doesn't it feel that way today? It just like, I really feel like I'm going to watch some of my favorite movies that make me cry and just let myself. And like I said, what always is interesting is I get inspired somewhere through it, whether it's in my writing and if I don't, I don't. It's a space of maybe I color and watch a movie today and let myself just be gentle. And then, when I'm ready, because it always happens when I gift that to myself. And and here's the thing too, is we need to let go of, I didn't earn this. There's no earning your self-care. There's no, well, I busted my ass this weekend, so therefore I get it. That's bullshit too. We need to stop equating our self-care and what we need for our mental health and our emotional well-being and our body care, our wealth, thinking that it has to be tied to something else. It doesn't. It does not. Because I also know that when I just honor that, when I'm done, I am very clear when I'm done. And then I get antsy and I'm like, holy crap, I want to clean the house again. Like I just That's the thing, when it always comes back to, now I'm grounded, now I can be in space, and now I'm all lit up again. And just feeling like there has no justification, there's no rational, there's no this plus this equals I get to take a day off. It's this plus this is doesn't matter.
Right.
It's something's off with the energy today.
Mhm.
And anything I force, I'm going to have to go back and rework. I can feel it because I'm not in the mental capacity.
Yeah.
I don't have the focus.
Right.
That being said, I'm going to do some care after this call.
Mhm.
And if it moves faster, then great. Then I do different things this afternoon,
Right.
but I don't have to have the day
Exactly.
mapped out. I don't have to have planned, right? I can literally just say, this morning, there's going to be some tears. This morning, there's just going to be
Right.
breath, just breath.
Mhm. I love that, Kim.
Yeah.
Being okay with the ebb and the flow in all ways of our lives. I think
Yep.
that's so much of the, I don't know, divine message that we all need to hear is being okay with the ebbs and flows of energy, of finances, of work, input, output, just all of it. Being okay with the ebb and the flow and trusting that, and just that inner knowing, trusting and inner knowing of it'll come back. And then when it's going great, also you're going to be heading towards a space of needing a little bit more of that flow. And then you're
Yeah.
going to have the ebb again. Like it's just that back and forth and not getting too attached to any of it.
Yep.
Because it's just a constant cycle. And that's okay. That's honestly, I mean, look to anything in nature, and that's what you see. And we are divinely connected to all of that. So we let it flow with nature. It's like, okay, here comes the rain. Nothing I can do about it. The sun will pop out again. And we work the exact same way, but that pisses us off sometimes, we we don't like to really let it be that way. We force and we push and
Well, and even you and I mean, we know this. We know the ebb and flow cycle of nature. We talk about it. We bring it into the work we're doing.
Yeah.
And yet here we are, you and I having a conversation because we need to both be reminded of it. There's a space that says, just breathe. Just breathe. I think if there's anything to take away from this, you and I just having a conversation is just breathe and take this moment for what it needs to be and lean in and say, how do I lead myself first? And if the answer is you curl up on the couch and get your blanket and take a nap or watch a movie, then you honor that and you say, okay, because I also know from a divine nature, all that needs to be done will be completed, and all that is for me can't pass me. And so when you acknowledge that, there is a piece, and we've, my theme forever, surrender. There is a surrender in that. There's a surrender that says, I got to let go. And I do a lot. Again, my control sense, my control nature says, I know, but I got to take the reins. I got to drive. And the universe is kindly trying to say, there's no reins to take. It's all fine. And you're on the right path, and nothing that's for you can pass you. And the work that needs to be done will always get done. You right now need to replenish, need to restore, need to rest, need to just breathe and be and allow. Right? Because if anything, my sabbatical taught me last year is, man, I was more abundant in my
right
surrender, in my, I just don't have. So feeling that energy again, where it's like, not today, not today. Today is not and my brain is still going a little nutso going, yeah, but you have wide open space today. Today was a batch day. Today was, and I'm like, great, then I'll figure it out. It will, or I won't figure it out, and it will guide me where it needs to go. And I mean, I even think about that we're about to get into calendar, another thing for May. And I'm already like, well, our first podcast is now shifted. It's still in the same area and conversation, but because this conversation, here we are, this is now the conversation that needs to come forward. Right. And so it's that space of allowing, having a sense of the direction, having clarity around what you're trying to put out into the world and how you're trying to lead, and then letting go of it's this or something better, right? It's this or it's the and of all, and letting yourself be guided in, oh my God, this was the topic I had to talk about today, versus this is the topic that wants to be expressed. And so that is the other question, besides just, what does self-care look like, or what do you need energetically today? It's what wishes to be expressed from you. And sometimes that's a nap. A nap wants to be expressed from you.
Letting that be okay. Yeah. Go enjoy yourself with a nap. Exactly.
What, Candy Bro, what it wants to be expressed today? A nap. A nap. A crying. I want to cry today. Great. Then that's what's going to express, right? And so, yeah, I think for us, it's just asking that question. What wants to be expressed today? How do I lead myself today? How do I show up for myself today? And when the energy feels, because it's a little dense today, then okay, be extra gentle versus trying to punch through or push through or ignore it. It's okay. It's just a moment in time, and the fact that a day is not real anyway, right? This concept of a day, you look at it spiritually, a day is like 10,000, right?
Again, it's
just
all these arbitrary timelines.
Yeah.
That we're putting on.
Let's get rid of it. Let's blow that shit up and be like, it doesn't matter. Like, cause there are times that I want to work at 11 o'clock at night to like work with the rhythm that's showing up. Right. And again, it's the space of, if you're honest with yourself, what's your truth right now? What's wanting to be expressed, what wants to show up? Because the difference between making an excuse and procrastinating and honoring, because we make an excuse oftentimes with what we need to honor, because again, we're shitting and shaming all over ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said, Candy. So true. I think we both needed that message today.